everybody, my name is Zača and I'm the curator of Short RIGA International Competition and, Short RIGA program at RIGA International Film Festival. And this is the Q&A for Short RIGA International and national competition participants. And we will start with the international competition participants from the screening called Defining Ourselves. And we have two participants present, and these are the films Jung and Fragil. And Joshua, can you introduce yourself? Say hi.
Of course. Thank you so much for having us at RIGA International Film Festival. We are very pleased to be there. And first of all, I would like to say that I'm very honored to be in such a nice showcase with these three other strong films from around the world. And my name is Joscha. I'm the director of Jung and Fragil. I'm from Germany, and I'm studying at Film Academy Baden-Württemberg at the moment.
Thank you. And then we also have Iris representing the film The Average. Hi, Iris. Can you introduce yourself?
Hello. Yes. Hello. My name is Iris Smeds. I'm from Sweden, and I made the film The Average, and I also am super honored and very grateful to be a part of this program, and nice to see you all. And yeah,
it's nice to see you as well. So I guess I will start with Joshua. Your film Jung and Fragil. So basically, this comes from the personal experience of being a man in this world. And can you tell me how did you sum it up, and when did you had the idea to talk about this via cinema?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's like, as you said, it's pretty personal. It's like a gathering of several experiences from me and my friends, not only male friends, but also women friends. And I guess I always talked about sexuality and relationships in my movies before. It was especially music videos before. And I went, or Felix and I, who I wrote this together, he's the producer of the film, we went to a small island actually in summer in last year and started writing, and we were just like figuring out what we feel at the moment, what's the most treasuring theme of us to talk to, and this was what came out actually. Yeah.
And so, how did you choose the actors? Is as I understand, this is student work, right? Or I'm mistaking myself? Can you tell about that a little bit?
Of course, yeah. I shot with the main actor who is Jonathan Berlin. I shot a music video before, and I found him through a friend of mine who did the casting, Stella Markert, also for Jung and Fragile. And I thought he's a very interesting guy, and he also, like, just in his own life represents the things I wanted to talk about. And the main actress is actually a German singer, Larry, she's called, or Larissa Sira-Herden. And it was actually her first short film gig. And as I met her, I was like, that's her, that's just the person I want to have in this movie. Yeah.
And can you please try to answer this? I understand it's probably not very easy, but in the film, basically, the main character is struggling to figure out, to find a way how to be a man in this new reality, and what does it mean? What is the role of this gender, or basically a lot of questions. And did you find the answer during shooting this film?
It was very interesting for me, because when I started to write the movie, I didn't know actually what it was about, because it was more like it's feelings I had and conversations I had, but this wasn't an answer for me. And I think this film isn't an answer to this, but it's just like the figuring out of something. I mean, it's the very beginning of how we will define ourselves, like the program is called in a way, where we go and how we want to live with each other. And I think it's, yeah, I asked myself this morning if this film is a deconstruction of gender roles or it's something that rebuilds them, and I think it's in between. So we wanted to show a new masculinity, or a new opportunity to show his own masculinity in this way, but it's not an answer to this. So I think this is the process of figuring out at the moment, and not, I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
I do know, I understand. I am still also in the same process. We're in this process all together. The whole world is in this process. Those who want to be, they are taking part and also trying to figure out how to act and react and everything. Well, thank you, Joshua. I would like to remind those who are watching, please add your questions to the international competition participants like right now. Just send them to me, because I will let them leave right after they will finish talking. I will keep them only for, let's say, 10 minutes, and if the question is not there, well, then you have to find them somehow. Yes, okay. So because the national competition is going to take a long Q&A. So now I would like to start talking to the director of the film, The Average, and I would say it's a moving image in a short format, and a film as well. And I believe you are an artist. This is your background, or am I mistaking myself?
No, you are right. I am an artist, so this is my first film with like a team and a cinematographer and a production in a way, and some kind of budget also. So yes, I am an performance artist in a way, but I work a lot with also sculptures and text.
So what came first, the image or the summary of all of the story behind?
Yeah, I think first it came that I was thinking a lot about the average and like the mean value. And I was also in a process when I was gonna get pregnant, and I'm diabetic, so my blood sugar had to be really like this. And I was really like occupied with the idea of being in like the total normal, that being in the total average, and have that like a goal instead of being on top of the world, like just staying in the middle, because I think it's like two different currents in society, that we want to be like the best of everything, but we also want to be like hyper normal in a way. And then, but it was also like this, these levels and this counting, because I was counting my blood sugar levels all the time. And this, that we also do today, that we collect so much data. So we have all this data, we can also, when we have the data, we can also like get the numbers of what is completely normal in a way. And then I started, I don't really know, then it like came to me, I started to think about what kind of pictures, what kind of symbols are there for like the average. And then this centipede came to me really strong. And then I kind of, and then like something that is like some kind of a picture of a society where everybody's like moving together in one big piece. And then like what happens when you cut that off and you like make individuals of all this, the collective. So it's like the end of a collective in a way. And then I came up, I think Ikeros was a character that came just like trying to get really close to the sun. And it's also like a theme in the film is also like it's better to burn than to fade away. And this Neil Young song also that is like, and that I think we live like that today a lot. And it's a bit like, it's also like an obsession of being like burning fast and being like successful. It's almost like an alcoholic's obsession for booze or something. Like you have this hunger that you have to have more all the time. And so it's like maybe it's like these different chapters. It's like Ikeros and it's a centipede, and then it's like this. I thought about the centipede, and that came into like this TV scene where it's like somebody wrote this book, and it's also like they had a relationship. So maybe they are talking about their relationship, or maybe they're talking about the society, and whose fault is it that like we smash the collective in a way. Yeah.
I read watching the film. I kind of made a connection between the TV reference and the social media that pushes like the new identities of like trying to be the best, and this is the source of information where we all get these stories of those successful people, of those overachievers and everything. So was that also, did I just connected it, or it was an intention? Can you tell about
it? Was not an intention, but I think that it's I think that it's such a big, I think how we use social media is like it really changes us to the core, like humanity in a way. And I think it's really, so I think it has to do with everything in a way. How we present ourselves like images to the world, and how we like sell ourselves like low intensity of like constantly selling, creating content for the world. So I think that's always something I have in mind. So it's of course. And
okay, thank you. I guess I will ask straight away a question also to Joshua, because there is a question from the audience, and then I will come back to you, Iris. Joshua, do you face unpleasant gender stereotypes in your daily life?
Sorry, I didn't get that. Sorry.
Do you face unpleasant gender stereotypes in your daily life? That's a question from the audience.
Yeah, of course. I mean, as a man, it's not that hard to, or it's not that, not that existential. Then I think women face these stereotypes, because it's also a privilege to be a man at this point, because women have it much harder than men have. But yeah, of course, I mean, I was always a very sensitive man, I would say, and this isn't something society is good with, you know, like you always, or I was always read as homosexual, something I would find bad, but I'm heterosexual, and you know, like it's society tries to bring me to a point to be a man I don't want to be, I would say. Yeah.
Okay,
if this answers it.
It does. I believe we all face these stereotypes, but it's beautiful explanation that also fits the whole theme of the film. I guess it is really personally inspired. So I was wondering, Iris, about the reference to Dali's clocks. Can you decipher that for me? Because that was something that I enjoyed it very much. I enjoyed that you used them as your like, I don't know, what was it, like they looked like two breasts.
Yeah, that is it's from the beginning. It's like a separate piece that I made that is called like the tits of Dali. And it was actually, that was kind of a starting point that I wanted to make, because I had this like, oh, wait a minute.
And there is also a question to Iris, but I will give it to her right at the moment.
I'm so sorry. I had this,
piece?
I had this like sentence that was like, hello, my name is Iris Smeds. I would like to talk to you about time and space. Hello, my name is time and space, and I would like to like shift the subject and object with like time and space in a way. But then I was and I just thought that it was really fun to have like these melting clocks like tits. And then it was also fun because they were actually, from the beginning, the inspiration for these clocks was like they had camembert. And I made this setup that was a bit more like a Renaissance painting. And then I also had this camembert that was really smelly. And it was something about cheese and something of like body, that it's like the body is made of cheese in a way. That was really strong for me. And now that I talk about it, I can not really see how, but I think it's maybe something that is like the body's, I don't know, it's something like cheese also that is like rottening, and it's like decomposing in a way that is, it's very like bodily, but it's not. So that was kind of not like this means really this, but I really had this strong urge to have this clocks like tits, and maybe like time is melting in a way, and like also because time, the film is about counting everything and like making numbers of everything, and then if you like have time that just melts away instead, that is like not going in circles. So that was, yeah.
Thank you, Iris. There is a question from the audience. I love today the questions are very private. Have you ever met really normal people?
I don't think there is normal people, but I think that there is, you can meet people and you yourself can try to achieve or like represent normality, and I think that you can see that some people try harder to have like the outer symbols of normality, and how important that is or not is for you, and how it's like, yeah. But I think it's I don't know. I don't think normality works like you are it or you are not. I think it's like, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a complicated question. If we would be in a festival, I think we would end up having this conversation up until the very morning, because what is normal is, I think, quite a relative a notion of normality. But thank you, Iris. I guess if we don't have any more questions, I would like to ask both of you, Joscha and Iris, stick around for 10 minutes or so if somebody appears with a question,
yes.
And then you're free to go. I'm very sad that we are not here together in Riga.
Yes,
but I hope
me too. It would be so nice, yeah.
I hope we meet one day somewhere. Thank you for the films.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so we will continue now with the national competition, and we will start with Pēteris Ķimelis and his film Pikniks, dzelzceļa malā. Pēteris, are you? Yes. Can you unmute yourself? You are still on mute, Pēteris. Find a red button that looks like a microphone and push the button.
Okay.
Yes.
Am I on mute?
Yeah, I can hear you.
No, Anna.
Ciao, Pēteris. So yesterday was the premiere of your film, and
Thank you.
this was probably the first time you saw it on a big screen. I know it's shot on...
No, it was not the first time, it was the second time.
Well, the DCP check doesn't count. I mean, the first time with the audience.
Kārlis Vītols. And I love him as an animator. He's like good.
Yes, beautiful choice of words. He's, well, as you said, your film is brilliant yesterday, then I think he's also brilliant, I would dare to say. But can you tell us about the film? The synopsis
it's not
is...
the best.
Pēteris, let's get back to your film.
I'm drunk.
Sorry?
Sorry. Okay. Okay. Ask just questions.
Okay, so good, because we don't have that much time for each participant. You will have to talk about your film at some point, even though you don't want to, apparently. But please do tell me about the whole idea. How did you came up with this idea and the image that represents?
It's about the deep depression. It's about death and love, as you know.
Yes, I do know that. And
why short? Because we have meters of film.
Okay, and how did you choose to represent this deep depression with those beautiful ladies?
Because I love ladies. Honestly, I'm not like really serious film director. I'm like more as an amateur.
But that doesn't that doesn't answer the question. It's like no,
Yes.
not knowing the law, you
Yes.
know. So
Yeah.
why the ladies? Please try to figure
Why
out.
the ladies?
Yeah, why did you use the ladies to show this deep depression?
Oh, you also use the guys. There's one guy also. It's not only lady.
But what do they represent in the film in general? Beauty?
I'm tired.
It was a very interesting opening night yesterday, so this is a continuation of this evening. I believe those who were part of the screening are quite smiling. I can see like Alise, Matīss and Anna, who had their premiere, are having fun with this. But Pēteris, if you're tired, then it's time to go to sleep. And thank you then for at least some answers.
I'm going to clinic. Like. So dude, what was the question?
The question is, well, I have one more question. So what does the term luxus aeterna mean to you? Why do you use it in your synopsis? How does it refer to the film?
Reflects to our gun friend. My two of my friends, music composers, dead, and you know, cinematography and films, right? It's all about like why the fuck you shall do film. Yeah, so it's about luxus. We are like filmmakers, you know? Yes, that's all. Because it's what can you else say?
Okay, thank you, Pēteris. I will check if there are any questions from the audience at this point for you. No? Then we will go on with the next participant. Thank you and have a good time in hospital.
Thanks. Thank you for having me, and thank you for big screen, because it's always a pleasure to see it on pretty big screen. And thank you, Anna.
Thank you, Pēteris. So now we will continue with Alise Zariņa. You had your premiere
Sure.
as well. So can
Sure.
you
Say hi
introduce
to her.
yourselves? Pēteri, nomutē sevi, lūdzu. Alise?
Yeah.
Esi gatava? So,
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Alise, let's go. This is your moment. Can you tell about your film and introduce yourselves?
So my name is Alise Zariņa, and this is a film I did as schoolwork, as coursework, but somehow it was supposed to be like an exercise, but I got like very deeply in the topic, I think, and we kind of made it, I think, a bit bigger than it was supposed to be. And now it's in RIGA IFF and it's in Lübeck, and that made me very happy to see how it's been growing, because like I kind of enjoyed doing that, but I never thought it's gonna become a real short film, to be honest, and it did, so that makes me happy.
So how did you collect those stories? How did you contact and found these people, these women?
I think first I did. First, I was doing like a writing assignment on that, I think, on abortions as topic, and I just did this. I don't know how you call it, aptaujas. Like basically, I put some Facebook questions where you can, without revealing your identity, to talk about your abortion experience. And I didn't think that many people would respond, but it was like 200, 300 women who actually like filled in, even if the post itself had 0 likes, which I found really like interesting, because nobody wanted to acknowledge the post being there, but so many people had something to say. And afterwards, then I started, like, when I kind of realized that so many women kind of want to tell about this experience, I started to look for women who could be interested in meeting me and talking. Some of they were people I knew before, and I maybe knew that they had this experience. Some I asked around, so basically either I found the women or they found me, knowing that I'm doing this project. But at one point, actually, I had to stop because I was ready to start filming, but the stories and women willing to talk just came in more. And some stories, like, I remember the last one, I heard something again about a priest who asked a woman to ask an abortion, and I was already filming, so I couldn't do that. But priests and abortions kept coming up. I remember that. Yeah.
And so you are focusing on deciding on the abortion, and then the emotional spectrum of this moment in females' lives. And but there is also like the physical consequences that you have, and there is also quite a nasty background to that, because apparently people think that it's a bad choice to have an abortion, and so you have to face the consequences, but nobody warns about like depressions or physical issues that will take place afterwards. And did you have these stories, and do you think do you think this could make some kind of other statement in another film, or how did this go?
I think the stories had, as I said, there were many of them. Like I chose 12 at the end, if I'm not wrong. And I wanted to, because I myself am very pro-choice, obviously, but I really wanted to find stories who would represent, like, let's say, less pro-choice experiences, or people who actually regret having abortion. And that's not like connected straight to your question, but I'll get there. But also, like, I think it felt somehow related that like women who had like harder experience with the whole thing, but I think they were parts also about these like emotions different they went through, or these psychological states. I think there are few sentences as well about that, but when I, like, let's say when I Google on Latvian about abortion, the first thing you find are the facts that you won't be able to have babies afterwards, which is not quite related to reality. You can find very few, like, this maybe psychological and physical things. You find a lot of these moralizing things, and somehow they connect these things. So in the sense, I'd like rather to start, first of all, like, to take away the stigma about, like, I don't know, moral, ethical, and blah, blah, blah things, which are, I believe, choices of people. And then rather to talk about, let's say, other consequences, or talk about this as a operation or procedure or thing in general, which has both physical and psychological things. And at some moments it shows up, but I think there's like more to the topic. I'm thinking that maybe I should, if the women would allow me, publish maybe some of the stories in full extent, because I think still without giving away the identities, because I think that like I don't think that, with few exceptions, I think they really show how it's hard on many levels. But yeah, but I mean, you can keep talking and find new things. For me, it was most important just to tell that these stories can be very different, and then they can be hard or easy for somebody. Like, there's this woman who says that she was surprised that it went so easy for her, and she felt bad about it. And then there are some other very, very heavy stories. So I kind of, for me now, it's just showing that it's okay, it's very simplified, but it's different for each woman, and then we can go, I think, in details deeper. Very long answer, sorry about that.
No, it's this film has already raised some long discussions as well, and I believe this is how it's supposed to be. As a woman, I believe that we have to talk about it, and this will help to destigmatize. So, yes, but maybe I did not understand from your answer actually why you chose these stories of women who did not want to do the abortion, to focus on them, and instead of those who are trying to explain why it's absolutely normal to do so, and that it's their choice, etc. And then also, how did you decide to use the men as those who read these stories?
First, I think I wanted to find people, women, some very weird noise, wanted to find women who regret, because, like, according to statistics, I think it's like around 90% women say they, maybe I'm mixing up, but let's say vast majority of women do not regret having abortion when they made the choice, but there is some percentage who say they do. And I wanted that to also be seen in the film. So I was looking, and it was harder to find women who regret because they're even less willing to talk about that. But it wasn't my plan. I just wanted to find people who regret. But what I found out was that all the stories I found where women say they regret doing abortion, it was never their choice. It was either the father, it was the man, or somebody else. And it's somehow, for me, it feels it should be that way, that if it's not your choice, it's more likely that you will regret. But I was not looking for that. I was kind of looking that I will find somebody who just has different set of beliefs now or something like that, but I actually didn't. That's one thing, because yeah, that's the regret part. So I think there are two stories who regrets out of 12 who are mentioned in the film. And about men, I had these stories, I think, before, or I was in the process, and I thought how to tell them. One option also, I was thinking about animation maybe, because I really did not want to like somehow hurt these women. And even if they would be willing to tell the stories themselves, I saw that it would like maybe be a bad experience for them, which I didn't want as a director to give them, like show their face and then read some comments on the internet or whatever. So, and I think I was talking with my boyfriend about this, and I think he somehow said that maybe it should be something more to do with men, because the stories are like, men are mentioned so much in the stories, like how they are there, how they reacted, etc., etc. And then somehow I put the dots together, and first of all, it seemed like so simple idea, and I was afraid it's gonna look like maybe ridiculous on the screen, and I was a bit afraid. I realized I don't want them to see the stories, because I wanted to see their reaction. They read for the first time. It was kind of like this process went through. They came, I gave them the stories. They read it first time on camera. Then I asked them to memorize some of the parts. So they are professional actors, so they could do that. And then they looked and tried to do that. And in film, it goes obviously in a different order. But when I was doing that, I realized that there was some kind of this thing happening, even for, I think, for the guys who are filming for DOP or the sound guy, who I could see that they, they become, I don't know if the word fascinated would be a weird word, but like there was something very happening, like this metamorphosis thing when the men took those stories. And then at filming, I realized that, okay, this experiment will actually work. It will give something different to these stories, and put men in the position in a way where they don't find themselves often. Because when we talk about abortions, men talk about them, but not ever from that point of view. There's like from the, obviously, without the understanding of women's point of view. And so it's somehow, yeah, I thought I was really afraid to do it, but when I did it, I realized that I don't know, it's a simple trick, but it works. It makes you look differently, the things than you usually do in some sort of, and yeah, because I already hear, I already hear the stories from the women. So when I heard them again, even for me, it was like, it sounded somehow different, and there were other elements added through the men being suddenly present there. So yeah.
They definitely do work, and I believe it's a beautiful film. And there are 3 questions and from the audience. I guess one of those you already answered. It's can you comment on the recent abortion ban in Poland? You're pro choice, right? That's I guess not necessary to dig deeper into. What do the women in your family think about this topic? And there's mom and grandma mentioned. I believe this is a question about that. I don't know who is giving this question, but I guess it's about the generation clash and this theme. But you could touch this question like shortly. But I guess for me the most interesting and probably a longer answer would be for this, what was the most difficult during the production of this film?
Okay, very quickly about Poland, just to comment the fact that that's like every time we talk about abortion, it seems somehow that it's okay now, more or less. There's some backlash maybe from people, from individuals, but then something like that happens in Poland, and you realize actually how fragile it is where we are, and how much we should be talking about these topics to never let something like that happen, well, in Poland or here, whatever. But yeah, that freaks me out. The second one was about generation clash. I will leave my family out of it, but I really wanted to have an older women's story, and that's why we have Juris Batkevich, who was actually, he's younger than the character, like the story he's doing. And yeah, and talking to that older lady, I realized that she was like, I was asking all these questions, and women from my generation, like, they had answers ready. Yes, there's shame. Yes, there's guilt. And she was like thinking, and she was really like, yeah, it wasn't really like that back then. And then she really started to think, where did it come from? And that's very interesting and weird aspects of all of that. Also a bit terrifying about Soviet Union and how many abortions were going on all the time, and how normal it was, and how terrible the procedure, the operation were to women. But and somehow, I don't know, there's really this weird change that suddenly it seems to be such a, I don't know, of course it is a big deal, it should be a big deal, but like, it happened in the shadows so much. I think pretty much I don't know the statistics, but again, from the stories, I feel that women in Soviet unions, they did this quite often, because, and in a very like this negligence thing. So, and that's maybe a topic nobody like touches that much, because like the reproductive system back then, and treatment of that. And the last question, what was the most difficult? But well, I don't know. I was like, still, when I was doing that, I was a bit afraid of failing miserably with this whole concept thing. But I think these like really like low budget films, they are really based on this people enthusiasm and trying to do more and come in. And it's always a bit hard when you have to call your actors and say, I have this great idea, but guess what, I don't have money. And in a way, like, of course, it's always kind of really hard when you have this kind of low budget film to convince yourself that this can be a real film, you know, because you're doing it all on your own, and asking people for help, and somehow, yeah, but I have like great and really professional people who, I don't know why, keep working for me for projects like that. I really hope to grow up one day and they'll be never doing again the calls and saying, hey, nice idea, no money, but say more like average idea, a lot of money. But let's see where it goes. But that, of course, and that's very practical side of it. But like emotionally, of course, it was. I become some kind of. I felt that I'm somehow responsible for hearing the stories. You know, like bad wording, but like when people tell a personal experience to you, you have to be able to react to it somehow, and to somehow let it in and see it like as a director and as well as a person. So sometimes I was reading these stories, and as a director I was sitting and thinking this is gold, and as a person I was crying my eyes out. And of course this is like this emotional aspect whenever you base things on real stories, how not to be very sad at the end of the day. I remember that my dog died one of these days, and I was reading abortion stories, and my dog was dead that night, and that was a terrible day. Probably that was the hardest day from the production. But then it somehow got better. And
Thank you, Alise. We will have to go on with the next participants of the competition, but thank you.
Thank you.
So now, Anna, are you ready to answer, to introduce your film, Klusā, Daba?
Yes. Do you hear me?
We hear you well. Can you tell about your background a little bit? This is a Latvian film in our catalog, but it's actually also,
Sure.
German. So tell about this film a little bit.
Yeah, I did my postgraduate studies in the Art Academy in Cologne, and yeah, this is my graduation film, so it's kind of semi-German, semi-Latvian. Yeah.
Okay, so this is a personal story in some way, or I misunderstood? It's like a well, I wouldn't say autobiographical apparently, but Can you tell about the story behind the film? Was it inspired by your personal events in your real life, or not?
Yes, there was I think the script in general was pretty vague, but there were just some scenes that I wrote from, for example, my mom was trying to find the new people who will rent out the flat of my grandmother, and I always find this procedure somehow strange, that it's the setup in the apartment is how she used to live with all her stuff and the couches and the interior of a 75-year-old woman, and then there are these people who want to live there for some reason. There was one story where somebody asked after visiting the apartment if he can take a shower, for example. So I find this situation strange of that there's a place who is the place is kind of embodying a person with some objects and how it is that it's and that somebody else is kind of like an invader afterwards. I think maybe that was the starting point, and then the script was kind of a collection of scenes, and the house where we shot was very important. It was a family house of a friend of mine. I don't know.
Okay, so what happened on the set? So basically, the main actress. Also, how did you choose the main actress in this film? She is hanging around like in the house, and with the grandmother's ghost. Was there a lot of improvisation and rehearsals? And because you're shooting on was it print?
We shot on film.
So can you tell about the process of the whole shooting of the film?
I think we had some kind of a script with my DOP Martinč, and we just spent, I don't know, maybe a week or something in the house, and we tried to find the right pictures for it, and tried to find the right images for the situations. So I think the film is very visuals. I think that was also very important. So I think this is how we basically created the story and everything, from being there together in the location, because we also it's just this one house, so it kind of gets boring after a while, because we've been in all the rooms and then we have to come up with something new to make it more interesting. I think it was kind of this work together with the DOP that and about the process of shooting on film, we basically rehearsed these scenes we came up with quite a lot before shooting, but I don't know, maybe we just had to be a little bit more precise than shooting digitally, but I don't think it made it more complicated.
And, can you tell about your work with the main actress? What was the script for her? Before, of course, actually talking and meeting mother and everything, because she's supposed to just be there and sink into this environment, I guess. Can you tell about work with the main actress, and also how do you decided to cast Elina?
I think I just casted her because I like her as a person. I think she's kind of, I just like her as a person, and I wanted to work with someone that I like as a person. Yeah, I think I had some inspirations, like these scenes that I don't know, also stories of my grandparents, the stories of maybe these kind of dream sequences of seeing the house of my grandparents in my dreams. So yeah, maybe I just kind of introduced her to the what the film is for me, and I think we did quite a lot of talking, and she kind of understood what I want to do with the film.
Okay, well, thank you. I guess I don't have any questions from the audience for you, but thank you for the film. It was a beautiful possibility to dive into last summer or the summer before last summer. Thank you.
And thank you for the premiere yesterday. It was really, really nice for me. I was really happy to be able to show it in this beautiful cinema.
You're welcome. Make more films. Okay, so we still have two Kārlis Bergs and Kārlis Vītols on the line, and I can't figure out which one to start. Seems like Kārlis Bergs is vaguely falling asleep because it's 6 and something or 7 a.m. in Texas, where you are at this point, and you study somewhere in America, I believe. Can you introduce yourself, Kārlis?
Yes, hello. Well, it's not 6 anymore. It's 7:23 now. But that's not important. I guess I will try to be as vague as possible. I studied in California Art Institute, and that's also where I shot my film. And now I'm in Texas. That's where my partner lives. So yeah, we arrived here not recently. And the film, it's a documentary about the largest human-managed pollination event in the world. And I guess there's this ever-looming climate change in the background.
Of course, and can you just getting back to the fact that you study in USA? So you study in the school. Do you study photography or you study film? That's a question that I still have in my mind, because I believe you went to study photography and now you're making film.
I actually graduated already that means May. But yeah, to answer your question, I went there to study photography, but it's a very cross-disciplinary program, and I don't know, I guess I got tired of photography and installations, and it just didn't really seem that exciting, or I don't know. Yeah, I guess exciting is the right word. So I started making films, and I also like that in films you have this control over how long the viewer spends with your work. I don't know. I mean, personally, in exhibitions, it's like, it's too fast. You just go in, look at the stuff, and go out. And I like that in films you kind of capture this viewer. Obviously, they can leave, but you have more control over that.
Can you tell if this is your first film, or you have done something before already? And then can you tell how you found the main character?
Well, this is my first film that I finished, but before this one I actually started immediately working on a feature length, and I guess I realized maybe that it's a bit too ambitious to start with the feature. So in the middle of shooting that, I decided to shoot this short. I had planned to film this film 2 years ago when I saw this Central Valley and all those almond tree rows and how huge it is and how beautiful it is when everything is blooming. But then I didn't have a character, or I didn't know anything about it. I just read this really interesting article about how bees are being rented out to the almond farmers to pollinate their trees because it just happens on such a large scale that there are not enough pollinators in the nature. So they bring in the bees and leave them there for 3 weeks, and that's what increases the production. But then in this article, they mentioned this Joe Trainer, which is the main character for the film, and he was on my mind for a year. I didn't even know how he looks like, or all I knew is he's really respected in the community, and so a year later I decided to call him, and I called him luckily a week before everything started. The bees are being brought in, and he was very welcoming, and he said, yeah, just come over to his office, and immediately put me in contact with everyone, and it just kind of snowballed from there. It was a very intense 3 weeks. I had a feeling as last year I missed it, it's very easy to just if you work too slow, it's gone.
So what was the feature about that you were ambitiously starting to work on and then stopped for this short film?
The feature I'm still working on, currently not really because of the pandemic, and it involves maybe a bit people who are in more danger. At least one of the professors, he has been counting butterflies for the past 48 years in California. But in general, the film is about insects and the insect decline, and how we only pay attention to the large and to the big things, but actually the small things are equally important, and everything is connected, and it's not good.
Well, I thank you for the film, and thank you for reminding us to pay attention to the small creatures as well. When are you planning to? So basically, you have to wait for the pandemic to finish to continue the work on the feature, correct?
Yeah, I don't know. One of the characters says he will retire, which is kind of a similar story in a way to this short film. One of the professors is saying he will retire in December 21. So I expect hopefully to shoot something by then, and I don't know, finish year 22 or something. We'll see how it goes.
Okay, there's still time to to wait. Then I was wondering also one more thing. How did you choose the storyline for the film? Because basically, how did you choose what to tell us to remember that we should pay attention to all the insects and make us aware or alert, let's say?
I think especially living in California, it's just this, I don't know, climate change is kind of like a constant backdrop. I mean, I'm so used to seeing smoke in the sky that it's normal for me. I remember friends of mine were sending pictures of smoke in Latvia, and that was a big thing. But for us, it's like, the sunsets are more beautiful, and it's kind of terrible, but that's how it is here. And I haven't seen rain for a while as well. California is in huge drought, and all those things just constantly remind me of what is happening currently. And I know it's hard in Latvia to even realize that it's actually serious, but all those things are also happening in Latvia. It's just we are under this phenomenon that change is happening gradually, and we just can't notice that yet, but it's happening. It's happening now.
Well, that's yeah, I guess it's a good note to end your Q&A. Thank you, Kārlis. And I will, I can see that the other Kārlis is somewhere, so I'll start with Matīss. Matīss, no, the other Kārlis is back. Thank you, Kārlis Bergs, and hello, Kārlis Vītols. Can you unmute yourself and introduce your film?
Var dzirdēt?
Yes.
Labi.
Kārlis, we can hear you, we can see you, everything is perfect. Let's try to. So, please, can you introduce yourself and tell us about your film?
Latvian,
just a little bit.
English.
Yeah. Okay.
Latvian, English.
Yes, it's supposed to be in English.
Oh, yeah. My name is Kārlis Vītols, and I made a film, and yes,
it's called Swan Maiden. It looks like you're very lost at this point, Kārlis. Should I introduce the film and then we can go on with questions?
Yeah.
It's an animated short film. It's called the Swan Maiden, and it's inspired by one of the Latvian fairy tale writers, Kārlis Skalbe. Also Kārlis, like the third Kārlis in this Q&A. So we have seen several animated films and fictions done by other directors inspired by the same writer, but now Kārlis was brave enough to choose the Swan Maiden. And can you tell about your choice? Why did you decide to make a film about it? Well, how did you figure out that this is going to be the story that you will get your inspiration from?
I wanted to make a movie about someone who sacrifices himself for society, and I decided, let's try to adapt some story, not to invent something new. And I was looking around one famous international story which I found, but we didn't get rights to do that. And then Kārlis Skalbe's All Fairy Tales became in public domain. And I went, yes, because I wanted to do something with Kārlis Skalbe about 5 years since it comes out, till 8 years from now. I was starting to think maybe to do something. And yeah, and that's how I found this fairy tale where a woman works and sacrifices herself to someone else who don't even notice.
Is this also inspired by your personal experience?
I think maybe yes, because otherwise I would never imagine to do something like this. Because when I became a father, I thought how much time my wife sacrifices and gives away just to someone do basic things. And main reason was because society never appreciates that, because it's so normal that, okay, there is a woman, now she is pregnant, now she gives child a birth. Now she sits home with kid. Okay, as a employer, I must pay her for that, and blah blah blah. And we don't see them on the street a lot because all the time they are somewhere nowhere. And now this experience from first point of view, where I see how much sacrifice and dedication and hard work without anything in return. No, only joy sometimes when you are not very tired. And also for me it was quite hard, but not a tense part of it, what my wife experienced. And it came together with a movie, and yeah, I put that experience inside.
I wonder how did you choose this gray imagery, because it's a very brave move for a Latvian to to choose the gray color, because we are living most part of the year in a very gray nature and environment. Hello, sorry, we had a technical issue, but now we're back. And Kārlis, I will just repeat the question for you. How did you choose the visual style? Because it's a bold choice to choose the gray color. As like there's not only gray, of course, there's also black and white and everything. And I do know that in the beginning you had a different visual concept in mind. Can you tell us about this a little bit?
I had a lot of concepts in mind. At the beginning it was total black and white, then it was a little bit black and white, then it was color, then it was little color, and then black and white again, because I love black and white cinema. That was my main target, was to make. And also winter and swan, ba. Yeah, it's very good for black and white, and that's it. Because yeah, I like black and white movies. How does that look?
And you use a lot of symbols in this film, so the same as you do in other works that you have done. So I would like to ask you a question: why, being a painter, you have decided to use animation as a medium for your stories?
Because you cannot tell stories with painting. Painting is something totally different. Painting is not for stories. Painting is, I don't know, for experience. Okay. And I believe it's a big misconception when people think that in painting you need to tell stories. No, it's not. For stories, actually, there is a book. And cinema is something a little bit more than just the stories. And cinema as storytelling is for lazy people who don't want to read books. Like me, haha. But no, but seriously, yeah. Because storytelling in cinema is a little bit when you read a book, it's hard to cry, but when you watch movie, it's somehow more easier to cry. If it's emotional movie. And with painting, I don't know if I ever seen painting where I want to cry.
Well, that's an answer, yes. And about the symbolic language, why is it so important in your works?
Because in animation you can render everything flat, and you can use. It's like everything can be anything. In feature movie, it's very hard to do, and I don't know, is it necessary? But in animation, you can, yeah, it's why it's called animation. You give life to everything you need, and that's why in animation movies, it's a strength of animation that you can use symbols, reorder them in how do you want, and also you can make very dense movie with ideas, and you can tell in 10-15 minutes as much as in sometimes in feature film. I believe, I want to believe that, yes.
I agree with you, Kārlis. So at this point, no questions from the audience. I guess I could continue.
No.
But I know you're working on your next film. There's going to be a feature at some point. You're working on the script. So now they will have to wait till that moment. Thank you, Kārlis. And now the last one, Matīss.
Hi.
Are you ready to talk about your film? You're the last. And please introduce your film and tell us, so what was your motivation? Why did you decide to use all the Latvian, not all, but quite a lot from the Latvian film industry, actual professionals as actors? And yeah, can you tell about the film?
So, hi, I'm Matīss Kaža. I'm a director and producer and occasionally other things as well. My film is called When You Look at Me, and it's a kind of surrealist comedy which investigates the Latvian film industry from an unusual angle through the prism of making this fake documentary about a very, very tall actor who has a stalker right outside of his window, but the stalker never appears when the film crew is filming. So they have to find some way of resolving this bizarre situation. And I decided to make a film like this because the initial inspiration came from an actual stalker that the main character, Gert Slapoška, had in outside of his real apartment. And then we thought, well, maybe we could make a documentary about this. A young actor and his stalker sounds interesting, like for a short documentary project. But then the stalker disappeared, so we had to resolve the situation in some way. And then I thought about the situation and realized that it actually corresponds with something very crucial to the director's profession in film, where you have to, in many, many cases, film something that has existed before but doesn't exist anymore, or is an abstract concept and cannot really be filmed unless you use some sort of very specific visual language, or you have to film a concept even in some cases. So it's a problem that we as directors and everyone else actually involved in the film industry faces. And I thought it would be a wonderful thing to do as a short comedy, not just to look at the Latvian film industry from a comedic and self-ironic angle, but also to look at filmmaking in general as a kind of absurd concept.
Well, I think you did it quite well, so that's why you're in this competition. And I wonder how, looking at your professional life right now, I see that you have turned into this more comedic, let's say, you have at least 3 pieces now done, including this film, that are full of humor. So what does humor and in cinema or film or a show of a performance means to you? Can you tell why did you decide to joke, start to joke around?
Well, I've been joking around since the beginning. I think that my first documentary could be considered at least partially a comedy, and well, the second one not so much. But I've always found it important to have humor in any work that I do, because first of all, it's very difficult to do good humor. So it's always a challenge for me as a filmmaker, because like anybody can make a bad, film joke and a bad cinematic joke, but to do it well, it really takes quite some effort. Second of all, I believe that cinema from Latvia in general tends to be quite, let's say, gray and depressing. So it's always nice to have a different angle on life. And I don't think that I don't feel as though life is just that. I feel that life is a number of things, and sometimes dark, gloomy, and depressing, but not always. So I tend to carry this mentality or this mode of thinking into my work, that the emotions are that I try to project are different. I don't think that this film is entirely comedic. I think there are many comedic parts to it, but there's an aspect of it that's actually kind of sad when you think about it, regarding my commentary on this profession of the filmmaker. So I like to have, I like the audience, and I like myself to have this amplitude of emotions in film. And of course, humor and comedy, I think, is a very, very important part of our lives.
Thank you. How about the main cast? Let's say I understand Gert is now becoming a professional actor, but what about the other divas in the cast? How was it to work with producers and directors as actors? Can you tell about that?
Yes. Well, it was actually quite easy, because all of them agreed to do it while semi-drunk at this kind of Christmas, New Year's party that the film industry had. So I caught each of them at the party, and I talked to them for 5 minutes explaining that I have this project. And then, of course, they drunkenly agreed. And then the next morning I called them up and said, oh, can you come on this date and we'll shoot this little casting scene? So they couldn't really escape out of the situation anymore. And they, because they'd promised to do it. So, and then that's how I managed to do that. But then I know most of them personally, so, and they know the type of film that the type of, the sense of humor that I have and the type of films that I do. So they, I think they had quite an experience, because it was, they didn't really know what was going on to the fullest extent. I only explained the basic situation and then pulled them into this casting room. Of course, it was different with Jānis Ābele and Rudolfs Minks and some of the other characters who appear in more than one scene. But the director's casting it almost turned it into an actual director's casting.
So did they try to direct also their own dialogues, or you did write them for them?
No, there was no written dialogue or written screenplay for this film at all. We had the situations in mind, and we gave them the given circumstances that they've arrived to this director's casting, and this is the film this is the concept of the film, and now they had to answer all these different questions, and they had to come up with their own interpretation on how to do this film about Gert and his stalker. So we didn't give them any other information but that.
Wow, this sounds like you had a lot of fun in shooting the film.
We did, yes.
I guess this kind of sums up the questions from my side. There is nothing from the audience. Probably, maybe you can add something if you have, if you think I missed out on some parts.
I think you did pretty well. The only thing is that the stalker has appeared again recently. So Gert is looking for a new director to direct the sequel, and maybe this time it can be an actual documentary. So, yes.
Okay, that sounds scary. I hope I hope they meet each other and find a way to become friends. Let's say so. Thank you. Thank you, Matīss.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. And now I would like to say goodbye, and I hope to see more of your films next year and in the near future. Goodbye.